Comic of the hour.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Thank you, God. Karen, are you ready for next comic of the hour?
Yeah.
Wyatt, are you ready for next comic of the hour?
Yeah.
Come to the stage right now. Make it loud for E1. Ood.
Yeah, you won.
Woo. Ow.
Love you guys. Yeah, I'll tell this joke so the rest of these stories make sense. Yeah, I was in the United States Army, 1st Cavalry Division, Fort Hood. It was weird being the only Asian person though, Yeah, every day people were just looking at me like, are we supposed to shoot this guy? It's cool being there. I mean, you need to get some good experiences and stuff and benefits. But I would say the best benefit is the ability to give old men hard-ons. Yeah, old men, they love hearing Army stories. And I guess because it makes them feel younger, it gives them hope for the future or something. But it doesn't matter what race they are, Like if I meet some old men at a park and I start telling Army stories, I'm telling you, they'll come all over me. All right, I'll start with this first Army story, right? It was the day I left for the Army, right? My mom, she came home from work early that day, right? And she'd never done this before. So anyway, we go to lunch at the Denny's or whatever. I was so nervous, I couldn't eat anything. So we get home, right? I get all my stuff ready, and we're waiting for my recruiter to come pick me up, right? And we're waiting for a couple hours, right? So after a while, I'm starting to think like, what if he doesn't show up, right? But then right when that clock hit, the second he said he'd be there, right? I hear these footsteps outside, they're like going up the stairs. And I know it's him because he's going like really slow, like not like a normal person. So anyway, he walks up to the front of the door, right? And I hear it knocking, right? It's like super slow, right? So I open the door and this is my recruiter, Now I'd seen him about 5 times before this point, but I never seen him in his full uniform, right? He's got all these medals and shit. I'm like, holy crap, this guy's like a fucking war hero, right? Anyway, I get my stuff and I turn to my mom, right? Now Asian people, we're not like the most, affectionate. We're not the most affectionate people in the world, right? So my mom's never really hugged me much or anything like that, right? And so she's just looking at me like, bye, son, right? I'm like, oh, okay, bye. And so I turn with my recruiter, we walk out, right? We go down the stairs, we get into his car, and we back up, and just as we're about to pull out, right, my mom comes flying down the stairs, and tears are just pouring down her face, right? And then she runs to the back of the car, and she jumps on it, and she's like, I love you, son, don't die, right? Come back home, I'm like, oh shit, yeah, mom, I love you, right? And I'm like, I'll come back, don't worry, right? I give her a great big hug, and we drive off, and I look back, and she's standing by the side of the road, just bawling, like, And I was like, oh man, that's crazy, right? And then an hour later, I call her, because I'm all worried. And she's all partying with all her friends. Yeah, I'll tell you this other story. The day I met The Rock, right? I was at a DMV. Actually, I was right up the street from here. I realized that now. The DMV, like a block up from here, I was right there, right? I was with my buddy. And we're getting our licenses renewed, right? And he's like, hey, you see that guy over there? Right? There's some guy like in the middle of the DMV talking to some other like supervisor. I'm like, yeah? He's like, I think that's The Rock, right? And I look, and I'm like, nah, I don't think so, right? Because he looked kind of slim. But then he smiles, right? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe, And I look around the room, and everyone's kind of looking at him, right? And pointing at him and shit. And you could feel this excitement, like, building in the room, Like, literally every second, it's like, building. And at one point, this girl screams, it's The Rock! Right? And everyone's like, oh, shit. All right, anyway, when I go to get my picture taken, The Rock, he cuts the line, right? He cuts right in front of me, And so he's like standing like right there, right, just looking at me, And at that point, I could have asked for it, I could have asked for a handshake or an autograph or anything. But I was so starstruck, I couldn't do anything. All I could do was just stare at him and go. The only thought in my head was, that's The Rock. That's The Rock. That's The Rock, right? And he just looking at me like, whatever. And he went and turned, he got his picture taken. And all these people were going up to him, right, and asked for autographs and stuff. And I was watching him, I'm like, oh man, it's so cool, You could just tell that he was just so happy that people were being nice to him, and I was like, man, if I ever meet The Rock again, I'm gonna go right up to him and go, because it's The Rock, I can't help myself. And I'll tell you another story. All right, that's a pretty good story. The day we did M60 training, right? The M60 is a light machine gun, right? It's the Rambo gun, right? Anyway, there's 200 of us. We're all watching our 4 drill sergeants show us how to shoot the Rambo gun, correctly, right? They're like laying there doing short controlled bursts. Anyway, one of my drill sergeants, whatever, he's like, fuck this, right? He gets up and he holds the gun like Rambo, right? With one arm like this, and with the other arm, he's holding the bullets, right? And he just starts shooting like, da 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 da. He's like, ah! Now we're all watching, so we're like, what the fuck? And we're like, yeah, fuck yeah, it's fucking awesome, right? Now the other 3 drill sergeants, they hear us cheering, right? So they're looking around like, what the fuck's going on, you know? And they see that guy standing up, right? So they're like, oh, fuck this, right? So all 3 of them stand up and they pick up their machine guns, right? And they're like, yeah, right? So you got 4 grown men standing there with machine guns, going away, yeah, screaming, ah! And behind them is 200 younger guys going, fuck yeah, it's fucking awesome, you know? Oh man, it was the most fucking testosterone-filled event I've ever fucking been a part of, you know? At the end of the day, we all had sore throats and full-grown beards. Yeah, here's another story. Yeah, you know, I got this therapist, right? And she like wants to get to the bottom of my drinking, right? I'm like, all right, doc, you know, let me tell you a story. You know, one night we're in the field, right? And then I had to pull guard duty, you know? So this guy wakes me up, right? I get out there, and it's raining and shit, right? And so, you know, in the Army, you're not allowed to have umbrellas. You know, you have a poncho, but you gotta just kind of stand there and get rained on, right? So I go to my guard post. It's just a machine gun set up at a fucking foxhole, you know? So I'm sitting there, and then my watch starts beeping, right? It starts beeping all crazy, like in a way I've never heard before, you know? And it's like, beep, 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 beep. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, oh, you know? Because I set my watch to notify me when it was my birthday, you know? Like 12 midnight, like right on my birthday. So I'm like, oh, okay. Happy birthday to me. And so there I was in the middle of Texas, in some dark, muddy foxhole getting rained on, singing happy birthday to myself. And that was it, that was my 20th birthday. So now my therapist prescribes that I drink lots of alcohol. I'll end with a couple of jokes. Yeah, you know, whatever. I was talking to this Persian guy the other day. I was like, you're Persian? From Persia? He was like, yeah, where are you from? I was like, the Han Dynasty, I guess. Okay, I'll end with this last joke, you know. I always close it. You know, comedians will always tell you 2 things, right? They'll always tell you when they just got booked on a show, and they'll always tell you when they just had sex. It's a bit juvenile, right? Like myself, I haven't been booked on a show in over a month. But I did get laid last week, so whoa!
Yeah.
My name's Iwan here, thank you.
How dare you talk about your sex life while holding a peanut?